Once you have a flying object defined, now you can start using that as a base for your objects that are going to fly, namely for the Skeet project, the bullet and the birds. So in this video I'll show you how to create the bullet class. Okay, now remember that a bullet is going to be a flying object, so it's going to have a point, it's going to have a velocity, it's going to have the alive variable. Okay, it's going to have all the functions, it's going to be a flying object with a little bit more. So I need to make sure to include the flying object. Am I typing it right? Capital O, sorry. Flying object dot H. All right, so it's including the flying object. So now when I create the class, I can use the colon and we're going to publicly inherit the flying object. Forget the semicolon. All right, so now a bullet is a flying object. It has everything and can do everything that a flying object can do. So now we're just going to add the things that make the bullet unique. Okay, here's a constructor for the bullet. We're going to make it so the alive variable starts out as true until it goes off the screen or hits something. And we're passing along the draw function. We need to make sure to implement that. And then in our plans, we are planning on creating a fire function. This is what makes the bullet unique. So the fire function needs a constant reference to a point object. So it knows what point you're going to be firing from. And then the angle in degrees on which direction the bullet's going to go. Okay. And then also you want to have a constant variable, a static constant float, so this won't be changing during the running of the program. Constant speed of our bullet will be the floating point 10.0. Okay, so now we have a bullet object. The bullet is a flying object, so I don't have to define any of the functions in this header file that were already defined inside flying object, except for draw, which is a pure virtual function, meaning I have to implement that. Okay, so in bullet.cpp, where I implement the bullet object, I need to make sure to include the bullet header, and also I need to include the UI draw header. That allows me to be able to draw with the drawing functions, and it also has all the math stuff in there that I'll be needing to calculate angles and things. Okay, so first I'll implement the constructor, or sorry, I'm not the constructor, the draw function. The draw function is going to draw if the bullet is still alive. So if the alive variable is true, we are going to draw, and I'm going to call the draw dot function, and we'll draw it at the current point of the bullet's flying object point. Okay, so we draw it at that point. Okay, so draw is going to be a dot. Now let's implement the fire function. constant point. Okay, a reference to a point and a floating number representing the angle in degrees. Where the bullet starts, that's what's going on. Okay, so this, we need the this pointer since the names conflict. So this point is representing the current value of point connected to the bullet object, flying, that is a flying object. That's where it gets the point from. And we're going to reset that variable to the point that's passed into the fire function. So that this pointer helps us distinguish between those two things. Then we're going to update the velocity object. I don't want to type all that out. Okay, the velocity object. Now this calculation is in the instructions. This code right here is using pi, which is included in UI draw, and it's taking the angle in degrees and converting it to radians so we can use it with these trigonometry functions to be able to calculate the direction. And then we just multiply it by the speed. Okay, so the velocity object that belongs to the bullet because it is a flying object. We're setting the x direction and the y direction so that it will travel across the screen at the proper velocity. And then alive, when we shoot it, becomes true. So this is all you'll need for the bullet class. The bullet is a flying object.